Hello. Welcome. Today, we're embarking on an incredible adventure into the heart of ancient Greek mythology. If you've ever been curious about the legendary tales of heroes, gods, and epic battles but didn't know where to start, you're in the right place. Our story is called the Trojan Cycle, a series of events that lead up to, encompass, and follow the famous Trojan War. This tale is filled with fascinating characters, dramatic twists, and profound lessons that have resonated through the ages. Imagine a world where gods walk among humans, influencing their lives in extraordinary ways. A world where a single decision can spark a decade-long war, and where heroes strive for honor and glory. Whether you're new to Greek mythology or looking to refresh your knowledge, we'll guide you through this epic story step by step. So, settle in as we journey back in time to explore how a simple contest between goddesses led to one of the most legendary conflicts in history, the Trojan War. Our story begins with a grand celebration, the wedding of Peleus, a brave mortal king, and Thetis, a beautiful sea nymph who could control the waters. All the gods and goddesses from Mount Olympus were invited to this splendid event, except for one, Eris, the goddess of discord and strife. Feeling insulted by the exclusion, Eris decided to stir up trouble. She crafted a gleaming golden apple and inscribed it with the words, "To the fairest." During the wedding feast, she tossed the apple into the midst of the guests. The hall fell silent as everyone turned to see the dazzling fruit. Three powerful goddesses, Hera, the queen of the gods, Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, and Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, each claimed the apple for herself, believing she was the fairest. The dispute among the goddesses escalated, and they turned to Zeus, the king of the gods, to decide who deserved the apple. Not wanting to choose sides and risk the wrath of the others, Zeus declared that a mortal should make the judgment. He chose Paris, a prince of the city of Troy, known for his fairness and good looks. Paris lived a humble life as a shepherd on Mount Ida, unaware of his royal lineage, because a prophecy had foretold he would bring doom to Troy. The three goddesses appeared before him, each offering a tempting bribe in exchange for the golden apple. Hera promised him great power, offering to make him the king of all of Europe and Asia. Athena offered unparalleled wisdom and skill in war, assuring him of victory in every battle. Aphrodite promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Swayed by the allure of love, Paris awarded the golden apple to Aphrodite. This decision would set in motion a chain of events leading to the Trojan War. Aphrodite kept her promise to Paris. The most beautiful woman in the world was Helen, the queen of Sparta, married to King Menelaus. Helen was famed for her extraordinary beauty throughout Greece and beyond. Guided by Aphrodite, Paris traveled to Sparta under the guise of a diplomatic mission. There, he was welcomed by Menelaus. During his stay, Paris and Helen fell deeply in love. Some stories say Aphrodite enchanted Helen to ensure this. When Menelaus left Sparta to attend a funeral, Paris seized the opportunity. He and Helen fled together to Troy, taking with them a treasure trove of Spartan wealth. This act was not just a personal betrayal but a grave insult to Menelaus and all of Greece. Upon discovering his wife's disappearance, Menelaus was furious. He sought out his brother, Agamemnon, the powerful king of Mycenae, and together they called upon all the Greek kings and warriors to honor a pact made years earlier. Before Helen married Menelaus, she had many suitors from across Greece. To prevent conflict among them, Helen's father made all the suitors swear an oath to defend whichever man she chose as her husband. Now, Menelaus invoked this oath. Among those summoned were legendary heroes, Odysseus, known for his cunning and intellect, Achilles, the greatest warrior of his time, Ajax, a formidable fighter, and many others. They agreed to join forces to retrieve Helen and restore their honor. An enormous fleet of 1,000 ships was assembled at the port of Aulis, ready to set sail for Troy. However, the Greek fleet was unable to depart due to unfavorable winds. A seer named Calchas revealed that the goddess Artemis was angry with Agamemnon. The king had either offended her by boasting that he was a better hunter or by killing a sacred deer. To appease Artemis, Agamemnon faced a terrible choice. He had to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia. Heartbroken but feeling he had no other option, Agamemnon agreed. Iphigenia was brought to Aulis under the pretense of marrying Achilles. When she learned of her true fate, she bravely accepted it for the sake of her people. Just as she was about to be sacrificed, some legends say that Artemis took pity on her, replacing her with a deer at the last moment and whisking her away to safety. With Artemis appeased, the winds shifted, and the Greek fleet set sail towards Troy. After a long journey, the Greeks arrived on the shores near Troy. The Trojans, led by their noble prince Hector, prepared to defend their city. Troy was a magnificent city, protected by massive walls said to have been built by the gods Poseidon and Apollo. The war began with both sides displaying great courage and skill. Achilles led his warriors, the Myrmidons, striking fear into the hearts of the Trojans. Hector proved to be a formidable leader, inspiring his people to stand strong. The gods also took sides in the conflict. Hera and Athena, still angry at Paris for not choosing them as the fairest, supported the Greeks. Aphrodite, along with Apollo and Ares, sided with the Trojans. The battlefield became a stage for both mortal and divine intervention. As the war dragged on, tensions arose within the Greek camp. Agamemnon took a woman named Chryseis as a war prize. Her father, a priest of Apollo, pleaded for her return, but Agamemnon refused. In anger, Apollo sent a plague upon the Greek army. To lift the plague, Agamemnon was forced to return Chryseis. Bitter about losing his prize, he demanded Briseis, a woman awarded to Achilles. Feeling dishonored, Achilles withdrew from the fighting, taking his troops with him. Without Achilles, the Greeks began to suffer heavy losses. The Trojans, led by Hector, pushed them back towards their ships. Morale was low, and despair began to set in among the Greeks. Patroclus, Achilles' closest friend and possibly his cousin, couldn't stand by, while his comrades suffered. He begged Achilles to let him lead the Myrmidons into battle. Reluctantly, Achilles agreed but warned him not to pursue the Trojans too far. Wearing Achilles' armor, Patroclus charged into battle, inspiring the Greeks and pushing the Trojans back. Believing Achilles had returned, the Trojans began to retreat. Emboldened, Patroclus ignored Achilles' warning and chased the Trojans all the way to the gates of Troy. There, he faced Hector. Mistaking Patroclus for Achilles, Hector engaged him in combat. Despite fighting bravely, Patroclus was slain by Hector. As he died, he foretold Hector's own demise at the hands of Achilles. When news of Patroclus's death reached Achilles, he was overwhelmed with grief and rage. Consumed by a desire for revenge, he decided to return to the battlefield. His mother, Thetis, knowing the dangers he faced, asked the god Hephaestus to forge new, magnificent armor for him. Equipped with this divine armor, Achilles rejoined the fight. The confrontation between Achilles and Hector was inevitable. Hector's parents begged him not to face Achilles, but bound by honor and duty, he stood his ground. In a fierce duel outside the walls of Troy, Achilles defeated Hector. As Hector lay dying, he pleaded with Achilles to return his body to his family for a proper burial. Achilles, still enraged, refused. He tied Hector's body to his chariot and dragged it around the walls of Troy, a grievous insult to the Trojans. King Priam of Troy, Hector's father, was devastated. Guided by Hermes the messenger god, Priam bravely entered the Greek camp at night. He approached Achilles' tent and humbly begged for his son's body. Moved by Priam's courage and grief, Achilles' anger subsided. He remembered his own father and realized the pain he had caused. He agreed to return Hector's body, and for a moment, enemies shared in sorrow. The war continued, and new heroes emerged on both sides. However, Achilles' fate was sealed. According to prophecy, he would die young. During one of the battles near the gates of Troy, Achilles was relentlessly attacking the Trojans, causing havoc with his unmatched fighting skills. Seizing an opportunity, Apollo guided Paris to a strategic position on the city walls. Paris, an archer by skill, prepared his bow. With Apollo's divine assistance, he aimed an arrow at Achilles. The arrow struck Achilles in his vulnerable spot, his heel. Since this was the only part of his body not protected by his mother's enchantment, the wound was fatal. This is where we get the term Achilles' heel, meaning a singular weakness. Achilles died a hero, and his death was a significant blow to the Greek forces. Despite their losses, the Greeks were determined to capture Troy. Odysseus, known for his cleverness, devised a cunning plan. They would build a giant wooden horse and hide select soldiers inside it. The rest of the Greek forces would pretend to sail away. Believing the Greeks had given up, the Trojans found the horse. Despite warnings from a priest named Laocoon and Priam's daughter Cassandra, both of whom had the gift of prophecy but were ignored, the Trojans brought the horse into the city as a trophy. That night, as the Trojans celebrated, the hidden Greek soldiers emerged from the horse. They opened the city gates to the returning Greek army. Troy was sacked, its buildings burned, and many of its people killed or taken captive. One notable survivor was Aeneas, a Trojan prince, who, guided by his mother Aphrodite, escaped the city with his father and son. His journey would later become the foundation for Roman mythology in the epic, the Aeneid. And so, the mighty city of Troy fell, all because of a golden apple and a prince's choice. The Trojan Cycle is more than just a story of war, it's a tapestry of human emotion and divine influence. It explores themes of honor, fate, and the consequences of our actions. The gods in these myths often reflect human traits, jealousy, pride, love, which influence the mortal world in profound ways. The heroes and events of the Trojan Cycle have been retold for centuries, influencing literature, art, and culture. They remind us of the complexities of human nature and the timeless lessons about courage, loyalty, and the perils of hubris. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey through the Trojan Cycle. We hope this story has brought the rich world of Greek mythology to life, for you. If you've enjoyed this adventure and want to explore more myths and legends, please subscribe to our channel. We delve into stories from various cultures, unraveling the tales that have shaped human history. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which part of the Trojan Cycle resonated with you the most? Do you have questions about any of the characters or events? Share your insights and questions in the comments below. Until next time, may the stories of old inspire you, and may you carry their wisdom into your own life's journey.